Welcome to the Wiggly Podcast from the Wiggly Sofa in Lower Blakemere, Herefordshire. I'm Heather from Wiggly Wigglers.
And I'm Richard from Wiggly Wigglers.
And I'm Farmer Phil.
This week we're going to find out about Ricardo's lambs. You've had a few problems, haven't you, Rich?
Yeah, same about the old lambs situation, really. It's an interesting one. I've kind of delved into a bit of sheep breeding this year. Well, just toying with it. What happened is a friend of mine, a lovely bloke called Richard Wallace, who lives just below me in the village, said, "Look, Rich, I'll come and look after you this year, and I'll nurture you through all your sheep problems, and then you'll get an idea of what to do subsequent years." And I said, fine, because I got Karen's Rylands last year, and I dug her a vegetable patch and I had a sheep in exchange, which is a good little deal. So I put these, and what Richard did was put a Texel tup in with the Rylands in November when I was away in Guyana last year. These Rylands have been going fatter and fatter and fatter all the time. I'm kind of thinking, I'm not sure when they're going to have their lambs. Kept checking them, so on and so forth. Anyway, one night, it was last week, a week before last, I went down to Berkshire to do a talk, right? Didn't get home till after midnight. My goslings that I'd hatched, I'd left outside, so I thought, right, I'm going to get, because it was still quite cold, So I thought, I'm going to go and get the goslings in. So I went up the garden, got the goslings, brought those back into the house, into warm. And I thought, shall I go and check the sheep? No, I didn't. Sarah hadn't mentioned anything, the waters hadn't broken or anything like that, so I thought I won't check. Anyway, I went to bed, draw the curtains in the morning, I looked across the paddock, there were two lovely little lambs there feeding under the mother, and as I looked across to the left, I could see this white object, and it wasn't moving at all. So anyway, I went down into the field to check, and sure enough, two little live lambs doing extremely well, and one dead lamb. And I walked down the field, a bit further down the field, another dead lamb. I thought, it's kind of weird that they both given birth on the same night anyway, in my huge flock of two sheep. But they're both given birth the same night. They're both given birth to twins. Unfortunately, two were perfectly healthy, two were absolutely stone dead.
Off the different ewes?
Off the different ewes, yeah.
So,
the one ewe had given birth to two perfectly healthy,
lovely
looking lambs, really robust, but quite Texel-y like, more Texel than Ryland. And the other two were stone dead. So the one ewe was kind of pestering the other lambs. So I had to separate them. I picked up the two little lambs and took them down into the shed and put the ewe with them and had to separate her for a while. And it's very sad. And I buried the lambs, and I'm thinking, when I was burying them, I'm kind of thinking, oh God, what I'm doing this, and really what I should be doing is watching them suckle under their mother. So this is always the way. When you've got livestock, you've got dead stock. And like Richard said, he will have had a trailer load of dead lambs through his lambing season, really.
But not 50%.
But not 50%, no. And anyway, he said, well, the reason was he probably just had they had a difficult birth, a difficult, long, prolonged labour, and consequently that's why they died, and it was very sad anyway. But I was trying to concentrate on the positive, and what we have got ultimately are two very healthy Ryland Texel crosses. So I've increased my flock by 100% overnight. I could have had 200% lambing if the others had survived. But
it is hard though, isn't it, when you've got down to just a few like that. As you know, Heather, I get to help one or two neighbours with various cattle, and if something goes wrong and you've only got 3 cows and you lose a calf, it's bad enough when we have a problem. I would just have to say, Rich, that sadly it's not legal to bury the lambs. Because,
isn't it?
Only if they're pets.
Oh, don't tell Defra then.
If they're pets, you can bury them,
okay.
But if they're not pets, you're not allowed to bury them.
So how did you find pets and non-pets?
Ask Defra. I'm only reciting their highly sensible and well thought out rules, but it's illegal.
I know. Yeah. Have you named the sheep?
No.
They're not pets then.
Although they were, Karen apparently did give them names, but I didn't want to name them because ultimately, the lambs, the Texel Ryland crosses, we're not going to. We might keep one of the ewes because 2 that died, one was a ram lamb, one was a ewe lamb. The 2 that lived are both ewe lambs. So I think we'll probably end up keeping one and eat one, but maybe we'll eat both.
So, shall we hear the other Richard's prognosis?
Yes.
So I picked these up this morning. I just put them in this bag. They're lambs. They are good lambs, aren't they? It's a shame, isn't it? I don't know what's the problem. They were, when I got to them, they were already cold, so that's it's a real tragedy.
Oh, lovely lamb, isn't it?
Yeah, they're lovely big lambs.
Real Texels too.
That's
a ram lamb.
Oh, okay. So that would have been a nice ram lamb. What's that one?
Lamb.
Oh, that's a ewe, right. Why would they have died, do you think?
You're not lambing too long, I expect.
Is that what it was? So perhaps if I'd have gone down in the night time, middle of the night, and
See what happens
Checked
sometimes, they, if there's a leg back or they don't come through properly or...
yeah, kind of sadness seems to the sadness of the dead ones. So you've got to be careful it doesn't outweigh the happiness of the live ones. But
Anyway, we've got to...
yeah,
I think you would have had
we wandered down.
200% lambing if you'd have...
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I suppose you just have to put it down to experience, don't you? All this kind of this new stuff. But
You do lose them, that's the problem, and it never gets any easier. Like I said to you the other week, we lost one of our best ewes just in the night, like. And I was drenching him one day and on her back dead the next.
yeah,
Nothing wrong, but just couldn't get off.
yeah, that's sad, isn't it? And that happens. There's nothing. I suppose you've done your best as well. Really, you've kept an eye on things. And
That's it. I'll come and give these a vaccine next week because chances are one might die with Pasteurella or pulpy kidney. So
right, yeah,
we'll give them a
we don't want that, do
7-in-1 jab next week.
Right,
and you'll be
fantastic.
covered.
we? Okay, that's superb. I appreciate that. Yeah, I came down and there was one. Yeah, there was one dead here at the top here. The two live ones were here with the ewe, and the other dead one was all the way down here by the shed. And the thing is, they were fine. I mean, up until 10 o'clock last night, there was no indication that they were going to give birth at all.
No, that's right.
And this morning I literally came to the window, looked down across the paddock as I do, and there were the two lambs, and I could see them. And yeah, lots of milk. I put so I put her in here, and she's.
I'll have a look now and see if they've suckled. Probably the best thing to do is to close the door on this one.
Do you think so?
Yeah, not so hard on the other ewe, isn't it? No, they're fine, they've suckled.
Are these fine, these two then?
They're alright, there's nothing wrong with those. They're good lambs, eh?
They are good lambs, aren't they?
That's a ewe lamb,
Right.
and that's a ewe lamb.
Oh well,
So
we'll
you
keep
can have
those
a
two then.
Flock of 4.
Flock of 4, yeah, we'll keep these two. And I put this nice bit of straw. This straw was Dick's,
Yeah.
It's been here since well before he died. So it's probably like 10-year-old hay and straw. Not much nutritional value in it, but
It's not a lot
it's alright for bedding.
that way in it.
So what's that you're doing now then?
I'm just going to put this iodine on them just to stop them taking up any infection up through the umbilical cord.
Oh, I see. Okay, just spray that around the base of the umbilical cord, halfway down the bodies. They're big lambs though, aren't they? I mean, they are chunky little guys.
They're lovely lambs.
I can
We'll put a bit
smell
of
the
this stock
iodine.
and tie. Then when you put them out, you might stop the fox getting on them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So what's that stuff you're putting on the back of its neck?
Just stock on tar.
Stock on tar. And it just smells disgusting, sufficient to keep foxes away from.
It'll just keep the foxes off them, hopefully. Whether it works, but we do it as a precaution.
Right. I put this big bucket of water in here as well this morning. She got her right into that and started supping away like a good one. She was obviously really thirsty.
Oh yeah, they'll drink. You want to give her some cake now?
Yeah, I did give her some cake this morning as well, so I'll give her a bit more in a bit.
How
How much can I give her?
haven't got any
Cake
good
shall I
hay.
give her today?
You got any other good hay? No. She'll pick out what she wants.
Not good hay. No, I've got lots of hay, but it's all quite old. But I mean, it's.
Well, if
I
you've
don't know.
got ewe nuts, if you're going to keep her in till tomorrow and the next, I should keep her in for over the weekend because this
Okay.
one you're going to try and take off with one of these lambs.
Yeah. So I'll just keep this door shut, keep her in
Keep her
here.
in there.
And how much ewe nuts shall I give her a day?
Or give her a feeder twice a day.
Right. What?
Give her sort of
3 or
one
4
double handful in the morning, one double handful at night.
Okay.
That'll be fine then. We'll get back in here and get them away from that other ewe.
Yeah. Such a shame. I mean, she's
And then
very
next week
sad,
I'll come
isn't she?
and
There?
I'll vaccinate them for you and I'll put a band on their tails, look.
Right.
You don't want long tails.
No. I suppose we need to do that. So what will you come back in the week and
Yeah, I'll come
Do
back
that. Well,
up in the weekend.
give me a shout when I'll come down with
And
you?
you can shut them in here and then we'll give them a jab,
Okay.
a 7-in-1 injection.
So how long shall I leave them inside for now?
Well, I should leave them in for a couple of days.
Right.
Otherwise, this ewe will
She'll try and
she'll try and
bully
take
him.
them off. You see,
Right.
let this ewe mother,
Yeah.
Once she sort of.
And she's got plenty of milk. Do you think this
Well,
ewe?
we'll have her over now. Have a look. Come on, boy. They're good lambs. They've suckled all right, so you've got no worries that way.
Right. So when you say suckled all right, you mean they've already been at the milk and the udder?
They're all right. They've had colostrum.
Right.
They'll live all right. They'll be this time next week. They'll be big, strong lambs. Oh,
Right.
no, you was thirsty. She wants some water.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Let me get out of your way.
Come on, girl. Come on then. Come on, in you come. In you go, girl. In you go. Come on then. In you go. Let's just check see how much milk the shoe's got. Loads of it, oh, heck yeah.
Lots of milk.
No.
So you just tipped her over on her belly and they're squirting the milk across the shed. So yeah, I mean their udders are definitely pretty full. That's not too bad actually. It's not as dark as I thought it would be in here. And I've made this shed fox-proof as well because I've dug the wire in right the way around the outside. So
That'll be fine.
So I'll leave them in here now then, yeah?
Yep, leave
I'll
them
come
in
back.
there until Monday or something. But as long as you give them plenty to... Bit of milk on that one.
Oh, it's a shame, isn't it? That's just all wasted milk now. So you're milking that one out, are you? Just to...
Take a bit of pain off her.
Right,
You'll probably have to milk her again.
okay. So I just... Can I... Do you want me to try
You can
it?
milk her if you like.
Yeah, so what do I do?
Just-
Just hold on to that for me.
I'm dirty now.
Well, just hold on the edge, it'll be
All
fine.
right,
I can
all
wipe it
right.
off with a clean cloth.
Oh, yeah.
cheers. So I just put my hand here, quite literally on the header like that, and oh yeah, squirt it like that. Oh yeah, it's really straightforward. Okay. Oh, what a shame, all this wasted stuff. Yeah, look at all that. I mean, it looks so nutritious as well.
Yeah, so if you milk her out a couple of times, it'll take you, it's quite painful.
Right. So milk her out. What?
Well, you don't want her to
End
go and get
today as
mastitis,
well.
or she won't be any good next year.
No, I don't know. So I'll milk her out again. What, later on today? Tonight?
No, leave her for a couple of days and then milk her out, just to take the pressure off it.
Okay.
It'll dry up on its own then. If you
Right.
milk her out too much, you'll keep milking. That's alright, she's down now.
And then
Spit
do
on your
this one
fingers
as well.
or, lubricate your fingers. And then just take a bit off that one.
Take a bit off this one as well. This one's blocked at the end, is it? That's where it's just releasing. It's like a cap, is it, on the end of it?
Oh, it's like a
there
cap
we
of
go.
wax in there.
Right. I suppose that's what keeps it in situ while the...
Well, it stops the infection
Stops it,
getting into the udder, you see. Not too bad actually. I should leave
Is there anything else we need to do with her?
24 hours. No, can't do anything else.
Right.
Just pull that bush over, and that'll do. And just let her go.
What a
Can't
shame.
do a lot
She
else.
spent all that 5 months holding those babies and now...
Unfortunately,
No, they're
that's
dead.
why there's so many cullus in the market.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
You'll see the market will be full of cullus after lambing because they're ones that have lost lamb.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to a friend of mine this morning and I said about it, and she said, oh, well, I'm afraid that's just the way with sheep, Rich.
That's
So
farming, that is. But they're good lambs, those are.
I'm chuffed to bits with them. I mean, they are lovely, aren't they?
You've got 4 ewes now, hopefully, if they
Yeah,
survive.
4 ewes, yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with them, but they won't vaccinate him with a 7-in-1, really.
Right, okay.
Because they might go down and they might get pastural pneumonia, you see.
Okay.
Well,
So we can do that in a week.
Yeah, give him a jab in the week. And
I'll put this. I'll just put this hurdle against there, and this poor old girl can, at least she won't have the distraction of the other one for the.
But I would give that to... give her a maximum of about £2.
Maximum of a £2 of cake a day.
Yeah, if you've got a kitchen scales, just weigh it and you know how much then. Give her a £2 in the morning, £1 at night for a few days.
Okay, we'll do.
Ideally, she wanted a bit of feed while she was out here for a week or so, but she'll be alright.
I was sort of.
Once you'll get fatter.
Yeah. No, I was popping down in the evenings and giving them a bit of, kind of 3 or 4 handfuls.
Well, they want
In
it
the
with those
evenings,
twins, you see.
Yeah. Okay, it's such a shame though. I mean, do you think it was that then? The reason they died is just purely because she was in labour for too long.
Lambing on too long, or sometimes when they lamb, they drop them on the floor, and then you get the afterbirth will be round the nose,
Yeah.
and they don't take it from round, so they suffocate really quickly.
Right.
If there's a skin over the nose, they don't last long.
No.
Like having a child with a plastic bag.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's right. Oh well, I suppose we just put it down to experience.
Oh, you'll lose them. You'll lose more. every year you.
Yeah.
We've never gone through a lambing season yet without losing a few.
Well, we'll keep those 2 anyway, and then hopefully we'll have a nice little flock of 4 now. So.
Yeah, this time next year, see, you want to have 6 lambs.
Yeah, well that's right.
And you have to buy a bigger freezer.
No, I appreciate you coming out.
I've
Anyway.
done now. They've had stuff so they won't pick up E. coli infection, and hopefully they won't pick up any joint problems through the umbilical cord. So
Right. Excellent.
at least you'll have your flock has increased by
Well, doubled effectively.
doubled in overnight.
Increased by 100% overnight. Yeah. Well, it's interesting stuff. I mean, it's amazing to look out the window this morning and see the lambs there, because I thought, my God, we've got lambs. You know?
It's a funny thing though, those are out of our islands, but they don't look a lot of difference if they were in our flock out of wild mules.
They've got a big head, haven't they?
Well, they've
got that
really dominant
Texel
texel
head.
in them, like, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I spoke to someone the other day that breeds. I said, a friend of mine, a Pam, and he said that after a couple of times, you just probably breed the woolly face out of them if you did it. If you kept putting the Texel with them,
if you did them. I don't think you will have a lot of woolly face in them now.
No.
This looks as though I thought they'd be more woolly than that.
Yeah.
But they certainly, if anything, the Texel's more dominant than the
In the Ryland.
Ryland.
Yeah.
But, they're a good mother and they're a good milky ewes.
Yeah.
The Texel, very good milking sheep.
Right.
So
right.
you will have some 2 nice ewes there. They'll be.
Yeah. Good.
You've got a couple of ewes worth £80 or £90 next year there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Only thing is, we'll have to be careful that we don't use the same ram because
No, we don't.
we'll be defeating the object.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
have to
right.
I got one great big one and an older one, but he's from a totally different farm. So.
Right. Well, we'll see. Float by ear. Well, that's the ideal scenario, isn't it? Like you say, you need to sort of mix it up. But I think it'd be nice to have. Ultimately, it'd be nice to have 6 ewes probably, and then that's fine then, because they'll be all right in this paddock, won't they?
Oh yeah.
Ultimately, I'm going to section this off just now. I think I'm going to run an electric fence down there because there's sufficient grazing on part of this, and then probably leave this to go for hay, and get Sace to give him the hay and just keep a few bales over for us.
I wouldn't bother if I was you.
No.
Well, you
Just
won't
let
use
him-
any hay because I don't make any hay now, and I've got 1,000 sheep.
Okay.
So I wouldn't bother.
So
if I was you.
just leave him on there on the
Well,
whole
you
thing.
can go down to Webb's then in Mordiford and buy them 5 or 6 really nice bales. For what, £10 or whatever.
Right.
They won't eat any hay.
Right.
Our ewes don't eat any hay anymore.
Right.
Don't use it. I think we used 90 bales last year, but between 1,200 sheep.
Okay. Not much.
It's not worth you making any.
Yeah.
You'll
no.
find that you'll want some grass out there if you're going to keep 6 ewes. They'll keep that down. 2 acres, 2 ewes per acre.
Oh well, that's probably it then, isn't it?
You won't want any more than 4 out there really. And they're lambs. Like you get 6, you'll have more lambs than you can cope with.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to take them to the market then.
Yeah. Well, that's it, and it's more
Yeah, you
more
won't-
fiddle than it's worth, isn't it? Then. Yeah. I don't want to bother that.
But I wouldn't bother with hay, Richard.
All right.
Because
I won't bother.
you
I'll
won't
just
want
leave 'em
it.
on there.
By the time he gets up here and bales it, and he'll charge you for doing it, you can go and buy 10 bales of the best hay for half the money.
Oh, that's it then. Nice one. Oh well. I'll let you go. Oh yeah, Rich. Thank you for that.
No problem at all.
Most appreciated.
See
See you anon. Speak to you. See you. Yeah, I'll see you. Well, I'll see you later in the next week, middle of next week or something.
You'll have to shut them in or something.
Just let me know when you're about, and I'll.
Well, we're going to have ours in next week and vaccinate them also.
Okay. All right. Fabulous.
then.
Nice one. Cheers, Rich.
Bye-bye now.
Hey Rich, that brings up an interesting idea though, doesn't it? With regard to people that have got tiny flocks compared to larger farmers with regard to welfare. Because in some senses, is it best to have a small amount of sheep and leave them fairly natural, or is it best to kind of intensify it and manage them in a more managed way?
How do you mean?
Well, what I mean is the NFU at the moment have got various issues with hobby farmers, and their point is that perhaps the welfare isn't as good as it might be in a more commercial flock.
Really?
Because, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. Actually, that's a very good point, because with your 2 sheep, you quite reasonably said, well, I don't think they're going to lamb. I won't go and look at them. And that's fine. I haven't got any issues with that. But if you're lambing a flock of 300 ewes, you're in the shed lambing. You won't miss any.
You'd know then, wouldn't you?
And
Yeah.
so that's the sort of thing that intensification can improve the welfare.
I think generally speaking, though, I mean, smallholders are going to be much more caring about their animals because it's done on a smaller scale, and they're not doing it.
I'm not having that.
Well, they don't.
That really winds me up because
no, because there are.
You can't say that. That is not on.
No, it's not. Heather's putting a thumbs up, thinking, "Oh, here we go."
No,
there's a man coming. But, listen to me first.
Absolute.
No, listen
twaddle.
to my point first.
No,
the point
you've got to retract.
Phil, you know that there are farmers around here within a 3-mile radius that have been reported to the RSPCA, who you might well yourself report them to the RSPCA, that abuse their animals to the extent where they're in an awful state.
Fair
so
comment.
you know that's absolutely correct. So the point I'm trying to make is, I mean, there are always exceptions to the rule, Phil, and I know your animal husbandry is second to none. But what I'm saying is, if people have got, generally smallholders have other forms of income. So smallholding is in conjunction with a main income. So you're not treating your smallholding as a commercial enterprise. So you don't have that detachment that some farmers have with their commercial enterprise. I mean, you could not tell me that a commercial chicken farmer has any emotional attachment to anything that leaves its farm in terms of livestock. Different for you because you have a flock of a herd of suckling cows, which are quite tactile. You know, you spend some time in your shed.
I've got to have a go now because
You've had your go, Rich. Over to Farmer Phil.
You are falling into the trap that, in my view, politicians fall into, where they say that all farmers are the same. That is not the case. Farmers are individuals. Now, I confess just let me have my say a minute.
No, but I will, because otherwise I'll forget what you've just said and then leave it.
I haven't said it yet.
So I'm not falling into the trap of putting all farmers in the same category.
You just have.
Because I know that there are different farmers. I know farmers are very different people.
Now let me make my point. Having said that, I confess that nobody's going to form a great emotional attachment with a chicken. But I think you will find that amongst
some smallholders might.
Make my point.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I think you will find that the better commercial stock farmers care for their sheep or their cattle
and their chickens.
And their chickens, probably. I don't know much about chickens, but sheep and cattle, if they are cared for and healthy, and their stock keeper looks after them, there will be none better looked after, smallholder or otherwise, because commercial success depends on health and well-being.
Right.
I do think
you can't generalise,
I would add
and I
here
won't
that-
have it that commercial farming is bad for welfare. That is not true. There are some practices I don't agree with, and there are some farmers I don't agree with. But you cannot, and I will not allow you to generalise.
I'm not saying that it is bad for welfare. You're putting words into my mouth now. You're saying, I mean, the original argument was the NFU are concerned about smallholders in animals kept in a small environment, relatively small domestic environment, rather than a large agricultural environment. I mean, there's obviously a distinction between the two things.
Can I just say something? Because I think you've both got really good points, but the thing that you're missing here is the fact of the matter is that if you're a small farmer who has got your farm as a hobby, then it is completely logical that you cannot look at those stock as much, and they're not as high on your agenda, which is the NFU's point. And I think it's a very naive view to have that because you're a very small farmer that all is rosy in the garden. You've just proved that in actual fact you've lost 50% of your herd. Now I defy that to happen in a commercial herd, because that person would have to look at that stock all the time.
Yeah, but I may have lost 50% of the flock, but you know, what's the chances of having a 200% increase in flock? You know, you've got to look at it on both sides.
But I'm not saying that. I'm not accusing you of anything. What I'm saying is that it doesn't make it rosy in the garden to have 2 sheep. You know, it doesn't make it that you've got a better welfare issue. I think it's good to question both elements. The large farmer.
Absolutely. I don't think that is the case. But I mean, I do think that the NFU, because of their propensity towards thinking that all farmers are great, and they're obviously that they're politically bound to represent their farmers in a positive, or their members in a positive way, regardless of the behaviour of some of their members, because we know for a fact that there are NFU members that behave appallingly. But of course, they have to represent themselves in a certain way in order for the people to appreciate it. But I mean, I appreciate that lots of farmers do really look after their animals.
I'm with you on the politics of it, but I'll give you a couple of examples. Your sheep, and I wouldn't, I'm also with you on the disappointment and the sadness of having a pair of dead lambs. But in a commercial flock, those sheep would have been scanned so that you would have known several things. You'd have known pretty accurately when they were going to lamb. You would also have known that they'd got twins in both of them, and you would have fed them accordingly.
Yeah.
And I know, round here, I know of several people who have so-called pet lambs or whatever, and they kill them with kindness. They are so over-fat that they drop dead of heart failure.
Yeah, sure.
That, they turn them out into their little paddock, and you have 2 lambs that exist in 2 acres, and they eat their heads off until they just get so fat that they nearly burst.
Yeah.
This isn't animal husbandry, and whilst I wouldn't criticise your animal husbandry at all, I just think that's sod's law, and it's real sad. In a decent commercial flock, the serving date of those 2 sheep would be known, and they would be scanned so you know how many lambs are in each sheep, and they would have been fed accordingly. Not that I suspect that was your problem, but the commercial welfare would be much easier to manage than trying to pinpoint when something's going to happen in 2 sheep. As you say, you're working elsewhere, you've got loads of other stuff on.
It's a really interesting concept. I like to know what other people think. And if you'd like to email us, you can email
Richard@wigglywiggers.co.uk
or pwg@lowerblakemere.co.uk.
Just leave it until the end of June.
Don't you want to know till then, Rich?
No, I just don't have any more time. leave me alone until then.
Email me then, heather@wigglywiggles.co.uk. I'd really like to hear what you think, because I think that there's a real tendency to label these issues because you're big, you're this, because you're commercial, this, and because you're a smallholder, that makes it absolutely fine. But I think there's issues in all these areas, and it's questions. Because sometimes if you do keep things all up together, you do get better welfare. I know for a fact that's why the chicken housing has become like it is. Not only because they wanted to produce cheap meat, but because they thought that welfare issues would be easier to manage. Anyway, spuds, darlings, spuds. You've still got a chance to claim your free bag of seed potatoes. Rich, you know all about growing spuds in car tyres, and I think we should make a video about it.
Shall we?
I think
that would be a good one, wouldn't it?
should.
Actually, there's a kind of piece of cake to do that, and it's a free planter as well. If you go down to your local tyre place, then I'm sure they're more than happy to offload a few. Although I think tyres are listed now, probably by DEFRA as or the EA, whichever one's responsible for that kind of thing, as hazardous waste.
But
so,
if you go to
when
Farmer
you
Phil and say,
when you go to the
"Please,
tyre
could I have
place,
some?"
Rich, and have a pair of tyres on your car, if you look closely at your bill, you will see a charge for the tyres, and then you will see a charge for the environmental disposal of your car tyre.
Is that right?
Those tyres belong to you. If you wish to take them home, you will A, save yourself £2 or £3 a tyre, and B, you will have yourself a free potato planter.
Also, I believe that as an individual, if you go to a farm or to a tyre shop and ask for tyres, then they are a resource. So when you carry them home, as long as they're your then your tyre, it's fine.
I've set loads of compost bins up, using lids off of 40-gallon drums and car tyres and on community allotments and things like that. So they make for great compost bins because they're kind of black and they.
No,
they don't.
Because we sell those. Don't we?
Tell you what tractor tyres make, Rich. They make great sand pits for the kids.
Yeah,
they are fantastic. They are
stunning. Yeah.
Anyway, if you want your free seed potatoes to grow your own in your tyre, which would be the best ones to grow in a tyre, Rich?
I don't know which tyres are the best ones to grow in. I have no idea.
Michelin or Goodyear?
Low-profile ones.
Well, if you
expensive ones, Rich, I feel like you're getting your value for money.
If you promote the Pirelli ones, then they might send you one of their nice calendars, which I know you'd appreciate.
Yeah, I know that. That would go well in my office full of women, wouldn't it? I'd be the only one that would appreciate it. But yeah,
which spuds?
I'll tell you what, any spuds really, pretty much. But I'm going to try this year. I'm going to try some pink fir apples in chimney pots. I was going to use.
Any potatoes?
We'll get some going in tyres as well. Try this pickford. Pickford's because it's quite a relatively small potato anyway. So if we start them off, and then of course it's a piece of cake to just keep putting one tire on top of the other, and just as soon as the head of the potato, you can see it coming through, you just cover the poor old thing up again and wait for it to come through. Terry and I did a little feature about potatoes because Terry was starting off some new potatoes in his greenhouse. We might not be far off harvesting them now, you know.
Terry Walton,
yeah. I'd be interested to see how they're going. In fact, I'm probably going to go down hopefully on Sunday to do the next podcast with him, and be interested to see if he's ready to harvest his nice little salad potatoes.
So come on, Wiggly listeners, dearest listeners, see if you can grow some free spuds. If you key in SO841 into the quick search when you place your next Wiggly order, you'll get some free seed spuds as long as you are listening in 2008, May and June. And what about seeing how many tons of spuds we can grow? Because I worked out that Wiggly customers over the last 5 years have probably taken over 10,000 tons of waste out of the waste stream between worm composting, bokashi and garden composting.
All right, that's a lot, isn't it?
That's amazing.
Because with planter-grown spuds, Rich, you can keep harvesting them, can't you? You get far more out of one plant than you do. You don't dig it all up.
No, you could just go rummaging, especially if it's like nice soft compost. You can go rummaging around and just pick a few tubers
it'll just
as you go along.
keep generating tubers.
So regrow a few. I mean, there's obviously a point to which that'll happen. But you can leave them, and certainly leave them in the ground, you know.
Now, we've had all these bee questions, haven't we? Bees, and the fact that bees have got problems and they could be wiped out, and there's only this many species of bumblebees left, and there's Varroa, and is it notifiable, and DEFRA are playing up and they don't know what's going on. They're depleting the bee inspectors. There's only 50, they said, but actually there's 46. They've gone part-time. They're only working 3 months of the year. Whew. Did you find out all about it?
I did. I get asked a lot about bees. Unfortunately, BBC Gardener's World came up and they wanted to film me. They wanted me to talk about bees when Jodie and I were setting up the show at Malvern, but I had to go and do a talk. So I was
rebuffed the BBC.
I was away. I'm afraid I had
Darling.
to. I had to turn them down on that occasion. But the Turley WI were more important that night.
Oh,
you chose Turley WI instead of Rachel Detain.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a choice. It was more of a.
It was Cal Klein.
It was more of a sense of duty, I think. So we didn't want to let people down. So consequently, I can't be in two places at once. I am only one man after all. So I had to go off. So anyway, we didn't get a chance. But we have done. We've done a stint about bees on BBC Gardeners World Live before, haven't we? BBC Gardeners World rather before. But anyway, I was talking to a really interesting guy at the Worcestershire Beekeepers, had at a trade stand at the spring show, and I went to talk to Watty all about things like chronic colony collapse and the like.
Well, I've wandered down into one of the big sheds at Malvern Spring Show, and just before it's about to get steaming hot today, and I wandered down to the Worcestershire Beekeepers Association. Now, I came down here yesterday and I spoke to a chap called Watty Slightholme. Is that right? Is that how you proper pronunciation? Yeah, what's Watty short for?
Watty short for Watson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay, that's a great name, you know.
That's my Christian name.
Right.
A lot of people don't believe me, but it is.
Fantastic. Are you? What's your position with the Worcestershire Beekeepers Association?
Well, I'm actually with the Kidderminster branch.
Oh, okay.
But I'm also on the executive committee.
Right. And you find yourself coming out to this kind of event?
For the National Honey Show, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll cover all that. Well, there's two of us cover it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you come out to these kind of things and talk to people about
I
significance of honeybees.
love my bees, and I love showing. People think I'm mad, but, you know...
Yeah. Well, perhaps you are.
Well, you never know.
It's no bad thing, is it?
No.
You've got a fantastic display of honeybees working away in a clear perspex display there up front. That's wonderful children to look at. I notice some of the kids having a look at them now. But, you know, I'm constantly getting asked about the significance of bees and what's happening to bees in the UK. And I'm conscious that wild bee populations are all but gone.
Yes, there isn't. I mean, the bumblebees have dropped no end in quantity.
Yeah.
And I mean, they do more work actually than our bees do.
Right.
Because they'll come out at lower temperatures.
Is it true to say that that honeybees are probably
below wild honeybee swarms, are probably below their biological limits now. Are we looking at, down the barrel of a gun, are we looking at wild honeybees being pretty much extinct?
Yes, you can say that, yes.
Right.
For the simple reason that this varroa mite that we've got here, that's come over from Asia,
right.
The wild bees, it's killing them off.
Right.
Same as it's trying to kill ours off in the hives. But we can treat ours and keep it down below a certain level.
Yeah.
But of course the wild bees can't manage that, and they're just disappearing.
And I suppose they're not physically prepared to defend off varroa mites like the bee populations where varroa originated.
Where it originated from, the bees over there, they groom one another.
Right.
And in the grooming, they actually pull the mites off one another and they drop off and die.
Right, okay.
But our bees don't do the grooming.
Right.
Except for grooming the queen, they don't groom themselves at all.
Well, that's interesting. And of course, there's another thing, and I listened to a couple of people talking about it on the Jeremy Vine show a couple of weeks ago. The chap, I can't remember his name now, but he was representing the Beekeepers Association, and he was talking about chronic colony collapse in bees. Now, I spoke to you yesterday, and you had a really neat idea about why you think that occurs.
Oh, yes.
Because no one really knows for sure, do they?
They don't know for sure, no, and we don't know a lot about it. I mean, this is just an opinion of my own.
Right.
Normally, a bee life is governed by its flying time, not with age like we are.
Okay.
Bees normally, or they used to, cluster in October for the winter, and you wouldn't see them till the following spring.
Right.
But now they're flying all through the winter.
Okay.
So by the time February comes, when they want to start flying, they're dying off because they've already flown the life away, sort of thing.
Right.
Plus the fact that when they're clustered tight, even in the winter, there's a few odd bees being bred all the time, only one or two at a time, but because the cluster's tight and the temperature's there.
Yeah.
With them breaking the cluster to fly through the winter, the queen won't lay because it isn't warm enough.
Right, okay.
And so there's no young bees to fill the gap, like, you know.
Right.
And that's what I think is causing a lot of it. That's only my personal opinion.
That sounds quite plausible, though, you know.
Yes.
Because, of course, it's something that there's, I mean, certainly in North America, they've suffered from terribly, haven't they?
Oh, they have, yes, yeah. I've got a friend who lives up at Clee Hill, and he's got friends over there, because he used to work there at one time.
Okay.
He said it's devastating to see it.
Right. They're quite worried, aren't they, on the quiet?
Yes, yeah.
Because, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying with, bumblebees, for instance, and all the solitary bees make a considerable concerted effort in terms of pollinating all our plants. But, honeybees have been relied on for generations, haven't they?
Yes,
take your hives into orchards and into heathers and things like that in order to encourage all these crops to pollinate.
That's right, yes.
What would happen if rapeseed oil, for instance, how successful would rapeseed oil crops be if the honeybee disappeared?
You'd probably lose about 50% of it.
Right. That's a lot, isn't it?
There's flies and different mites, that will do it to a certain extent, but nothing like the honeybee does.
What other problems are poor old honeybees faced with at the moment?
Well, you've always got the threat of your fell brood diseases, but we've had those for, as long as I can remember anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are relatively treatable then? You can sort of...
They are. The one is now up to a certain extent, but at one time if they got these fell brood diseases, we used to have to just kill the colony.
Right.
Because there wasn't any treatment at one time.
Oh, okay, that's quite sad, isn't it?
But the one, they can treat it now, but personally, me again, if it was me and I had it, I would get rid of the colony.
Right, yeah, and start afresh.
Yes.
Take no chances.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So what can people do then? If folks, I notice you've got a petition here. Presumably you're looking for signatures so you can petition government in order for them to, encourage them to do more.
They're allowing us so far £200,000 a year to feed DEFRA and that's what they're getting out of it themselves.
Right.
It's worked out, what they get off
Right. Okay.
taxes and other things.
Right.
165 million.
So yeah, the contribution of our wonderful, not so humble honeybee is estimated to be £165 million a year.
That's what the government gets out of it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what they're offering to people like yourself who are doing research and trying to find the problems associated with this colony collapse and other appalling diseases and problems that bees are faced with is £200,000 a year.
Yes. That's right.
So I can see why you probably need quite a lot of public support to encourage government to.
I must admit we're getting it. It's well, I've got my little pad over there,
right,
and that's only one of 3, and I filled up until last night. I'd filled 7 pages.
Right,
and there's 20 on a page.
Okay, so you're getting there. People are interested.
We're getting a marvellous support here from it.
Good. Oh well, I wish you well, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, Watty.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you.
So, Rich, that's fairly serious for, British agriculture, worldwide agriculture, UK gardening. What can we do about bees?
It's really serious. Well, the one thing I always say about bees, I mean, you can safely assume now that honeybees are wild honeybees are well below any biological limits. So I think we can be sure that they're practically extinct now, really. The only honeybees that are around are kept by human beings. That's very dodgy in itself. Bumblebee populations are declining dramatically, but we've got all these little solitary bees, which you guys were just talking about. I mean, this year we seem to be inundated with red mason bees and whatnot, trying to find places to start up their nests. So whilst there are, a couple of species of honeybee and, say, if we're lucky, probably 16 species of bumblebee now, 6 of which are ubiquitous, we've got 247 different species of solitary bee, right? And all those little hairy bees will go out and do their level bestest to pollinate our crops in our gardens. But, obviously, land adjacent to those, fields and things like that.
They're outside our door.
Yeah, you've got loads buzzing around, haven't you?
Yeah.
And they're harmless as well, aren't they? I mean, people often think, bee box, and I can't do that because, kids might get stung. But it's something that you can do, and your children can watch all this bee activity, toing and froing. And when I talk about this to people, I always say that you get just as much pleasure from putting up a bee box as you will a bird box, because you can see all this stuff going on. And it is more significant, more ecologically significant to put up a bee box and to provide some habitat for solitary bees than it is a bird box, really.
You were saying, we were just talking about it, you were saying, Rich, that you've got a figure on the reduction in oilseed rape yield if there were no bees, that it might reduce it to 40% that's very dramatic, isn't it?
Well,
there are other crops.
Apples.
Apples, field beans are solely pollinated by bees. Beans. And if there are no bees, then you will see the face of agriculture change radically.
Yeah.
And that's quite serious. And I would say that the last 10 years have seen farmers realise that when they do spray insecticides, it's critical that they use ones that don't hurt bees, and that has been well taken on board.
Yeah.
But I know in America the chronic population collapse is far worse. That's where it's worst at the moment, isn't it? That they've experienced it really badly.
Major problems, major. I mean, it's not just, it's something we kind of think, bees are in decline. And we talk about this, 2 out of every 3 mouthfuls of food you eat is there as a consequence of bee behaviour. If people are worried about food prices escalating now, then that ain't going to be nothing compared to what they're going to escalate to if we lose our bees. Because, the whole thing is completely unviable. I mean, there's a school of thought that human beings would be no more after 6 years of the honeybee becoming extinct. So it's worth supporting. The government aren't putting any money into researching ways and means of protecting our stocks either.
The trouble is, Rich, one of the government ministers the other day, to give you an idea of their breadth of thinking, had written a letter suggesting that he wanted to do away with EEC subsidy for farmers because of the escalating cost of food. And I was thinking, that's right, you take away the subsidy from the farmer, so that reduces his income, so what's that going to make him want to do to the cost of the stuff he produces? I would suggest that he might want more money for it.
Yeah.
And with politicians thinking like that, what hope is there for things like bees, which are critical?
Yeah.
And research and development, they've closed half the research establishments, there's no money for that. And things like bees, that should be right at the forefront of I mean, nobody can work out what some of these problems are.
Oh, dear listener, aren't you pleased that the
Excuse me.
boys are back together? They've been out of the room for a quick fisticuffs earlier when they got a little bit fretty. Out they went. There was a bit of bumpty outside.
I should say there was.
Rumpty bumpty between Phil and I. I'll have you know.
Fists were there. They were there, right, ramming each other up against the wall. Michael and I broke it up and made them make friends, and all is hunky-dory back on the Wiggly sofa.
I won, though.
Once again this week. Tune in next week for another row if I can stir one up.
You'll try your bestest.
Rich, you said to me you like having a row.
Yeah, well, you know.
And
sometimes.
you lost again. Oh, dear.
Rich, be happy.
Behave, Hev.
Bye from me.
Bye from me.
B from me.